In this video, I have 3 different topics to cover, and it's all about the quarterback position: Kenny Pickett, and Mitchell Trubisky. So I'm going to start off with a report that came out this week after the Cardinals game, talking about Kenny Pickett and how he was nearly benched after the loss to the Cleveland Browns. So, an NFL insider of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Gary Dulac, has reported of the Pittsburgh Steelers Post-Gazette that Kenny Pickett was almost benched after the struggles on offense against the Cleveland Browns. This is the report that he said that he revealed on the DVE morning show. Here's his quote. After the Cleveland game, there was some discussion that maybe a change needed to be made at the position because of the way Pickett had been struggling for those 3 games, right up until the mess in Cleveland. Now, of course, that all changed with a performance in Cincinnati, but it had been discussed. Obviously, they would like to see how he would have performed maybe without Matt Canada. We saw one good game. The second game looked just like he always did. End quote. So that's what the insider had to say about Kenny Pickett almost being benched. And just looking at this situation as a whole, I'm going to look at it from both perspectives. I'm going to look at it from Kenny Pickett and just the organizational standpoint as well. So this makes it seem like the organization and the coaching staff may already be closer than anyone on the outside realizes to moving on from Kenny Pickett as a whole. And to be honest, that might be a scary thought for the organization moving forward into maybe drafting a quarterback or looking at outside options next season. But you could really take this with a grain of salt. You can't really 100% confirm that Gary Dulac's report is 100% truthful, even though obviously he's an insider and he's a reporter and it's his job to get information like this. He's not Mike Tomlin or Art Rooney, so we don't 100% know. But based off this report, looking at it from a perspective of Kenny Pickett's, what are they going to do? Are they going to move on from Kenny Pickett? Were they going to bench him and play Mitchell Trubisky? That just doesn't make sense. That's why I don't really 100% believe it, because it just doesn't really make sense why they would bench Kenny Pickett this season. If we're talking about that they had a quarterback, like a rookie that they really liked, that was behind Kenny Pickett, or someone else who has been performing good in the past, but you have Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph as your backup quarterback. We've seen Mitchell Trubisky come in the game whenever Kenny Pickett got hurt. We've seen what Mason Rudolph did that one season when Ben Roethlisberger was injured. We've seen those two play on the football field before, and they never really been a great quarterback. So what are you going to do? Bench Kenny Pickett and play Mitchell Trubisky or Mason Rudolph? That just doesn't make sense from a football trying to win standpoint. Whenever Mitchell Trubisky comes in the game, he throws interceptions. The Steelers end up losing the game anyway. When Mason Rudolph plays, yes, they had that good one season, but we know what he could bring on the football field as well. So benching Kenny Pickett for one of those two guys just doesn't make sense from an overall perspective. But looking at it from an organizational standpoint, looking at it from an outside perspective, from moving on from Kenny Pickett, yes, I could understand them wanting to move on, maybe in the offseason or down the line. But this season, it just doesn't make sense because he is the best quarterback on the roster right now. But in the offseason, when they actually have outside options to either go get a veteran, go get another guy from the outside of free agency, or even draft a guy in the first round, yes, that makes more sense. Moving on in the offseason, if they wanted to move on, makes more sense than moving on during the season when the Steelers are still trying to make the playoffs. It's not like their record is that bad. The Steelers are still right now in a wild card kind of spot in the playoffs. So it's not like their record is terrible and they still have a chance. So that report saying that they're that close to benching Kenny Pickett doesn't make sense entirely. But if they did, that's kind of on them. And as of right now, we're going to see what it would have looked like with Mitchell Trubisky. Because even though Kenny Pickett did not get benched, he got injured. And now we're going to see who they would have benched him for in Mitchell Trubisky play today against the New England Patriots. So let's see how he does. Maybe he does do good. And that brings me to my second topic of this video. I said there are 3 topics. Let me move on to the second topic. I've seen many people kind of saying that if Mitchell Trubisky plays good, that's really a bad look on the organization and a bad thing for the Steelers if he outperforms what Kenny Pickett has done so far this season. And just looking at that statement, I don't get how that is true. Because what are you rooting for? Are you rooting for the Steelers to win football games? Or are you rooting for a quarterback? Because yes, you could root for both, but entirely you want the Steelers to win games. So if Mitchell Trubisky outplays Kenny Pickett and he performs really good, isn't that a good thing for the Steelers? That they're able to perform well and he's able to push the ball down the field and he's actually helping the Steelers win games? Wouldn't that be a good thing? How would that be a bad thing? I understand it from a perspective of maybe it's a bad thing because that means Kenny Pickett's not the guy. But if that means Kenny Pickett's not the guy, then wouldn't you rather that be exposed earlier on so that they could go get a new quarterback down the road? Why would you not want that to happen? Why would you want him not to outperform someone else? Why would you want him to perform bad so our team could lose? Wouldn't you want him to win games for the Steelers so we can make the playoffs and maybe have that playoff push? So that kind of statement right there, that Kenny Pickett being outperformed and outshined by Mitchell Trubisky in these next few games of him being injured and Trubisky playing would be a bad thing, just doesn't make sense. We want the Steelers to win games. That's the bottom line. So that's the second topic of this video. Now moving on to the third and final topic, back to Kenny Pickett. So we all know Kenny Pickett, he had a high ankle sprain. That's his official injury, a high ankle sprain, and he needed surgery, and he got it done on Monday. And the report was that he was going to be out to 2 to 4 weeks. But now Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reports that it's more than likely it will be at least 4 weeks, meaning that it could be even longer. Usually with high ankle sprains, the timeline for it is around 4 to 6 weeks, but him needing surgery kind of means that it's more severe, so it may be even more than 4 weeks. But that's a report on Kenny Pickett and his ankle injury, kind of saying that he might be out for even longer. And what that basically means is he might be out until the very end of the season. We don't know. We don't even know if he's going to be playing again this season in 2023. He may be, but he may be not. So if the Steelers do make a playoff push and they end up making the playoffs and Kenny Pickett doesn't play the rest of the season, would he be the starter in the playoff game? That's a question. If the Steelers right now go on a stretch run where they end up making the playoffs with Mitchell Trubisky as a quarterback and he's playing good, are the Steelers going to go back to Kenny Pickett in that playoff game if he does not return from his ankle injury during the regular season? Or would they start Mitchell Trubisky or whoever it is, Mason Rudolph or whoever, at the quarterback position? Obviously, it all goes based off how well the quarterback is actually playing, because we all know the Steelers have been winning games with subpar quarterback play anyway throughout the season, with Kenny Pickett only throwing like 6 touchdowns in 11 games. So it's not based off the quarterback winning in recent weeks anyway when the Steelers have won. So obviously it's going to be based off how the quarterback is actually playing. But do you think the Steelers would actually go back to Kenny Pickett if they do end up making the playoffs, if he doesn't return during the regular season from his ankle injury? That's actually a big question mark that has me wondering if they would do it. I actually don't think they would. If Trubisky is playing well, if the Steelers go on that push, and Kenny Pickett's injured throughout the whole regular season, I don't think they would go back. I think he would sit and see how Trubisky does. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on that specific kind of a question that I just proposed right there. Do you think they would return to Kenny Pickett as a starter if that does happen? And also, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on the other 2 topics of this video, of Gary Dulac reporting that the Steelers almost benched Kenny Pickett in favor of Mitchell Trubisky after the Cleveland Browns loss, but then end up starting him and firing Matt Canada instead. And also, let me know your thoughts on kind of the storyline of people saying that Trubisky playing good is not a good thing for the Steelers, even though it clearly is. But let me know your thoughts on all those 3 topics I covered this video. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if the Steelers content analysis reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well, so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. I cover everything Steelers news, just like this, giving you the latest reports on everything. I do film breakdowns, reactions, and everything Steelers. So stay up to tuned. Like, comment, subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.